If you could eliminate one invention from history to improve the present day, what would it be and how do you think the world would be different without it? Depends on what you mean by improve. Personally, as an ecologist, I'd be tempted to remove agriculture. This would massively limit the maximum number of humans capable of living on the planet, dropping it down to a few 100 million at the upper end. This would also mean that the majority of technological inventions would never have happened then, that the planet and the rest of the species on it would be in massively better condition. Of course, this would also come with a host of problems, that on the whole the world would be a better place. I can't help but think about how changing one invention or preventing it from happening, how it would have such an unpredictable domino effect that I can't be sure what to prevent from happening, no matter how awful or harmful the invention seems. Owing to existence, it will come to existence eventually. If it is physically and causally possible, then it's a mere statistical inevitability, doomed to happen at some point, past, present, or future. Either planned obsolescence, shrinkflation, or union busting. Without planned obsolescence, the economy might not run the same speed, but accumulation of wealth would be much more possible, as the goods we buy would retain their usefulness and value longer. Shrinkflation, because it is mildly infuriating. Because it enabled the rampant exploitation and horrid state of affairs in workers' treatment that could be nowhere near as bad had the workers been able to form unions and negotiate collectively. Nuclear bombs. Ironically, I feel like somewhere down the line someone would make it, but we as humans would have evolved to understand how to use nuclear power and not death. It's actually sad that we even use them on other beings on this planet. I believe that weapon will be the end of humanity and life as we know it. The elders in power are all sickly brain-damaged old men that have yet to realize their morality. Once they do, they will steal it from many leaf their ancestors did centuries ago. Limited liability. I think that this would have hampered the Industrial Revolution, which, yes, did bring us a lot of innovation. But I think that corporate capitalism is a plague on humanity and the planet. I think that corporations should have been kept responsible and limited as they were originally. Enter the invention will be England's Limited Liability Act, 1855. Other countries had the same kind of situation, of course. This was the biggie. The cotton gin. Slavery was becoming less and less economically viable until Eli Whitney's cotton gin allowed the cash crop to revitalize the institution. Without it, slavery in the United States may have just died with a whimper rather than a bang. Massive human suffering may be avoided, race relations improved, and the bloodiest American war averted. Maybe worth a shot. The cotton gin. If it hadn't been invented, large-scale cotton farming would not have been profitable. Cotton plantations were the factor that led to the increase of slavery in the South, and indirectly to the Civil War and all that followed. Without the cotton gin, slavery would have died out in the South just as did in the more industrial North. The internet. It has opened up the world immensely and allowed us to easily search for information, but it has become quite clear that we as humans cannot handle the level of freedom it allows. Despite all of its potential, it seems like the internet has only made people more stupid, shallow, self-centered, lazy and awful. The internal combustion engine. Think about how much pollution and deaths are caused each year by cars. Then you have all the other manufacturing processes which support motor vehicles. Gasoline, tires, loads of plastics, etc. It would be super inconvenient, but ultimately would make for a cleaner habitat. Alcohol. A large portion of the population just cannot be trusted to use it in moderation. If they were just hurting themselves, it would be one thing. But they drink and drive, become abusive towards their families, tie up the healthcare system, etc. Honestly, I think that we would be better off without alcohol. The private motor car, cycle lanes all over, walkable neighborhoods, small shops and businesses amongst homes, and so much public transport you will never have to wait more than a few minutes for a ride. Plus, without the huge car parks and roads in sight, they will become pleasant places to live. Electric cars, automobiles. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate them. And I just think hydrogen is better alternative for gasoline. One wish more companies invested more in hydrogen than EVs. The battery tech, even though is getting better, it's nowhere close to being convenient or cheap at this point. TACS and super PACs. If they didn't exist, corporations wouldn't be considered people, and you wouldn't be able to funnel millions of dollar from calls and special interests to a political candidate. I suspect the world, or at least the US, would be much better in general. Cars, public transit, walking and cycling would still be the norm. Fewer deaths and life-altering injuries. Healthier population. No fattening drive for us. More connected communities. Fewer carbon emissions, etc. would be the benefits. You cannot improve the present day by removing inventions, because alternative inventions will always emerge in the race to exploit markets, humans and the earth to the greatest extent. The specific tools used to do that are irrelevant. Anything that exists currently would get invented eventually. I can't think of anything besides maybe medieval torture devices like the brazen ball. Look it up. They served no other purpose than to severely harm the fellow man. Semiconductors, we'd still be working with analog electronics, or computers would not be as ubiquitous, as we'd still be using vacuum tubes. More money would be spent on cooling and perhaps trying to shrink vacuum tubes down further. There's a part of me that really wonders what the world would be like if the internet didn't become mainstream and was aimed more for business use and not personal. Social media is such a mental health issue for humanity. Stock markets, or at least I'd restrict the selling of stocks to at least 1 year after they are bought, so that investors are more interested in the company results and not the casino of buying and selling stocks. That it would set humanity back decades or even centuries. But the sheer amount of damage coal power has caused that would be prevented would vastly improve our prospects in fighting climate change. Nuclear technology. Its radioactive products and waste are too toxic and they can't be neutralized. These toxins have too long a natural disintegration half-life for us humans to keep them on our planet. Racism. And I don't mean the modern kind that gets applied to pigmentation differences. I mean actual races. I want to exist in a world with Neanderthals and other species from the Homo family. The smartphone. It's allowed people to walk around with a mini computer in their pocket and cause some bad behavior in public, not using headphones. Filming people without their consent. Leaded gasoline. Text to 20 world 20 is 20 less 20 intelligent, with 20 other 20 countries 20 following 20 sub. Social media, not all of them, but everything. Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram. They're ignorant, dumb and superficial people use to validate themselves. I haven't seen it in mention yet, so my choice would be the printing press. Would be interesting to see how the world would have developed without it. Social media for sure. It's so bad. I consider myself fairly good, as I only really use Reddit. Facebook, Twitter and Insta are awful. The atomic bomb. The world would be much safer if we didn't have nut jobs like Kim Jong-un, Putin, or Trump having access to these weapons. The internet ruined us. It was supposed to be this badass tool for accessing information, but it's misused to no end. Gunpowder. Gonna be a lot harder to kill thousands of people if we have to go back to using spears. Not harder. Leaded gasoline. Nothing would make the world better or worse. Just different. We would still be as ungrateful as ever. Pride and or greed. Not sure if humans invented it, maybe some animals began to do it first. Who knows, though? I would go back and explain to the guy who put lead into petrol about how much damage it will do. I can only try. Mosquitoes. I fucking hate them, everyone does. And their extinction would be so beneficial for the entire world. The electric chair. Had we never gotten that, we would likely have gone with much safer methods of electricity. I would remove woven cloth. I have no idea what that would do, but it would fuck up upright good law. Corruption. The vast majority of the world's problems stem from corruption at one level or another. Definitely AI. I'm sick and tired of people creating fake pictures to offend and embarrass others. Cars. Cities would be so much nice. our air much cleaner, and remote places would still be remote. Plastic. I don't think it would necessarily improve anything. But at least we could have style. If nuclear weapons had never been developed, the world would likely be a very different place. Cigarettes causes cancer. Disgusting, and a huge drain on the healthcare system. Nukes. They will definitely be used in the future by some madman, and it's not gonna end well. The internet. The offline world honestly feels like an escape from the internet nowadays. Nukes. It was the one invention that allowed the elites to hold the whole world hostage. Cigarette and vape, because there would be fewer slow, painful deaths without those two. Internal combustion engine. Climate change would be much more manageable without it. Interest on loans. Need I really write what would change? It's akin to world peace. Imperialistic capitalism. World would be much better, but a lot less globalized. Peed by no Lord should not create Adam and Eve para whale and eng problem. Sorry oat. Nuclear weapons. I would just be that much less stressed in my life with them gone. Gunpowder. I don't know what the world would be like, but it would change a lot. The dishwasher. More family time washing and drying dishes together every night. Alcohol, of course. There will be a lot less deaths and addicted people to change. Short-form video content. All those TikTok, Reels, Shorts, etc. kind of stuff. Nuclear bombs. No country should have the ability to take out another country. Seriously, it's leaded gasoline. It's always gonna be leaded gasoline, come on. How great would the world be if we'd never come up with the idea of a gun?